Grand day, everyone. Grand day. I'm your host, Paul Lawrence Vann, and I'm honored to have you here today on another beautiful day here in the winter time. The topic today for episode number 334 is Master the Mind. Yes, the mind is most important. And by doing so, you will be able to multiply your money. The foundation of a healthy wealth mindset. That will be discussed today. So pull up your on your easy chair, get you a cup of coffee or some tea, and get your notepad. And we're going to get right into this again. The name is Paul Lawrence Vann, and it's just my honor to be able to host this particular podcast. So, welcome to Wealth Academy Podcast, where we teach you that wealth is more than just money, it's leadership, mindset, discipline, and intentional action. I'm your host, Paul Lawrence Vann. I'm the leadership catalyst. I retired from the Air Force in the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. I'm a certified financial manager and the author of the book, Leadership is Influence, which happens to be a award-winning book and something that you may want to consider. So today's episode is really all about being foundational because before you build wealth externally, you must build stability internally. It all begins on the inside. You know that quote, it's an inside job, meaning nothing really great happens unless you come up with a great idea and you put that idea into motion intentionally. And before some of the things that I want to talk about, because before you build wealth externally, you definitely build its stability internally. Before your portfolio grows, before your income increases, before your investments compound, your mindset must mature. And for some of us, including me, it happens a little later than it does sooner. So today we're talking about mindset, intentions, and how to develop a healthy money mindset foundation that sustains wealth for decades, not just moments. So let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how two people can earn the same income, yet one builds wealth and the other stays stuck? The difference is not luck by any means. It's not intelligence. It's not even opportunity. It's one thing and one thing only. It's mindset. Money amplifies who you already are. If your mindset is disciplined, money multiplies. If your mindset is chaotic, money disappears. A healthy money mindset is not about obsession with wealth. It's about alignment with your purpose, having that clarity in decision making and emotional control. Today, I'm going to walk you through some powerful questions that will help you assess and strengthen your wealth mindset foundation. As I mentioned before, get your notepad out, sip on your coffee or tea, and let's get with it. One of the things I'm going to ask of you, and I'm asking it of myself as well, is what did I learn about money growing up? So I posed this particular question to myself and to you as well. What did you learn about money growing up? Was it money scarce? Was it stressful? Was it never discussed? Which is, whew, that's not good. Your financial identity was shaped long before you earned your first paycheck. But awareness breaks generational patterns. And you know, you've heard that quote, heard of it. Money doesn't grow on trees. So what your parent or your guardian was talking about, or friends, is that you have to earn money. It's not just going to pop out of thin air. Now, it can pop up out of thin air based on a great idea and the right mechanics behind it and the system behind it. However, we know on an average daily basis, that's not going to happen. There's going to have to be the WORK work that's in place in order for that to happen. And then was it stressful? You know, you wanted something as a child, and your friends had things, your classmate has things, but you couldn't get it because you knew it would be very stressful to ask your parents. So many times you didn't even ask because you knew what the answer was going to be. And so that's another aspect. And was it never discussed? If money was never discussed in your household, then there was a functional issue taking place in there. There were some problems in the house because money is life and life is money. And even the roof over your head where you stayed at involves some money. It involves some mortgage payment or rent. It involves some taxes. It involves some uh, insurance. So there are many factors working, but it has to be discussed. And so your identity, financial identity, was shaped before you earn your first paycheck. And that was the same way for me. I tell the story of us, I started working at the age of 10, but I was never paid during the 5 years that I worked in my parents' grocery store, Vann's Grocery. And so I considered it to be an unpaid internship. So I learned a lot about money, working with people, communicating with people, working with vendors, and extending credit to people in the community who sometimes never paid the money back. So I learned a lot really fast. But the money that my parents did earn from the store, in addition to their factory jobs, that money belonged to them. So I had to lead myself to my own money. I had to earn my own money. So I would work in prime tobacco for farmers, or I worked in a factory, or I worked for UPS, and on and on and on. And so awareness really breaks generational patterns. But at the age of 10, I learned that I have to earn my own money, and it would come years later for that to happen. So the next thing I want to talk about is here, question two is, do I associate money with stress or strategy? I'll repeat this. Do I associate money with stress or strategy? Now, some people panic when money is discussed. Wealth builders plan. Healthy mindset shift consists of from emotional reaction to intentional response. So stress with money could be from the fact that you tried and failed, and couldn't get the job that you wanted to get to at least help you get started in your wealth building life, or your life itself, just starting out, because we all have a starting point unless we inherit money, or we win a lottery or something of that nature. So money can be very stressful if it's something that you've always been trying to do. And even when you get one job or two jobs, but it's just not enough. Unfortunately, that's kind of how it is sometimes in our country. And wealth builders plan. And this really consists of, for every penny that I earn, I'm going to give it a job. And so pennies equals dollars ultimately. And as a result, we have to give the money that we earn a job. So we want to go from that emotional reaction like, dog, I really can't catch a break. I get a car, it breaks down, the money has to go to that, but I need the money to go to the rent. I need it to go to for a medical appointment. I need it for food or for the children. So it really could be a stressful situation, or it can be strategic, whereby you make some short-term sacrifices for some long-term gains. Example, when time for me to go to college, my parents didn't have any money to give me for tuition because they had 10 children. I happened to be the oldest son and first generation high school graduate. I went on to college, and people asked me, well, Paul, how did you pay for college if your parents didn't do it? Did you get student loan? Nope, weren't interested in student loans. So how did I do it? I got a job. I worked 4 years of college. I started out after I graduated from high school. I had a job at the recreation department in my community in North Carolina, and I made maybe $600 all summer. And that was a lot of money back then. And I took that money, I had applied for one grant, and I applied that, and then I got a job as a intern. Here I go, intern again, but I was paid this time. And I was an electrician apprentice for one of my former teachers' brother-in-law. And he would pick me up after class every day, and I would go with him and help him with work. And they did that just to help me. So you talk about community support. I had it. And then when I left for this, after my freshman year, I applied for a job at UPS, and I ended up getting that job. And I worked for them for 4 years when you add up the time I had to wait to go on military duty later on, after I graduated from college. And so I became a first generation high school graduate and first generation college graduate. And as a result, I earn money, and that's that part what I mentioned earlier about I have to earn my own money. And so I started, that's what I did. I paid for it. And I never got a student loan, and I picked up an extra $100 a month in the Air Force ROTC program at North Carolina State University. And so I found a way out. And I went from emotional reaction to intentional response because I knew after my junior year, I went to basic training for 6 weeks in Dover, Delaware, and for the Air Force basic training. And I went for 6 weeks. And when I came back, I knew I would join the ROTC program, of which I did, and I did it for 2 years. And so on the day that I graduated from college, I not only received a bachelor's degree in business, but also a commission as a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force. So I knew I was going to earn my own money, and I was leading myself to wealth as a result of that. And I served 22 years in the United States Air Force, and then I retired. So question number 3, are my financial decisions driven by impulse or intention? Impulse says, I want it now. Intention says, does this align with my long-term wealth vision? Now, intentional people build intentional wealth. And what this means is that we're impulsive. You get a job, the first thing you do is get a car, and that's an expense. And that's going to cut into your rent that you have or any other expenses that you have out. If you happen to have student loans, it's going to cut into that. And so you have to be intentional, and you also want to be patient. So intention says, does this align with my long-term wealth vision? So we all need a vision so we can give the money that we earn a job. And when we give the money that we earn a job, it means we're looking at the long term. And ultimately, as I joined the Air Force, I ended up purchasing my very first house. And then I purchased another house, and I rented out the initial house, the first house I ever bought, and I leased that out for about 12 years, and I lived in the other house. So someone was paying the mortgage for the other house. And ultimately, I sold that property, and I made over 6 figures doing so. And as a result, that really was a part of my long-term vision, wealth vision. And so I planned for this. And when I added in the other factors such as life insurance and stocks and other instruments, I was really building a wealth vision. So here's the next question I want to ask you. Question 4, do I believe I deserve to be wealthy? So for you is, do you believe you deserve to be wealthy? I really kind of already know the answer to that. We all want to be wealthy. But again, wealth is more than just money. Now, this is deeper than just numbers. Some people unconsciously sabotage growth because they don't feel worthy of abundance, meaning that you strategically take the money that you earn and strategically find different paths to make that money grow. Again, it could be stocks, it could be bonds, it could be different insurance policies, it could be renting properties out, real estate investing. So there are a lot of ways of doing it. Or leading an AI agency. So there are many ways of doing it. Now, healthy money mindset requires not only confidence, but competence and conviction. So the triple C, confidence, competence, and conviction. So let's hit each one. It takes confidence to be able to pull it off, to position yourself to become debt free. But most importantly, if you have a job, that you don't put yourself in a debt such that if you were to lose that job, you lose everything you have. So you want to do things strategically, and you can do it through confidence by writing it down and knowing exactly what you want to do. And competence is a thing such as you sit down, you listen to people who handle the whole life insurance policies, and then you learn how to create it, become your own banker. or you enroll in a stock investment course like I did, and that community will blow your socks off. And I learned how to invest in stocks. I learned how to when to buy stock or when to trade stock. So I learned a lot, and I learned all of this just earlier this year. And as a result, I'm now positioning myself for even longer term vision. Now, I have two children. I have one daughter who graduates from college in May, and I have a son who's undecided what he wants to do. He may go into the military like I did, but I look at that and say, well, I'm in my 24th year of retirement. It's time for me to really just sit back and enjoy things and just do things that I want to do, like this podcast or speaking, being a public speaker, or writing my fourth book now. So I'm doing things that will grow my money. And so I do believe I deserve to be wealthy, and I'm already wealthy, but it's just an aspect of ensuring that I'm convicted to do so. And I am definitely convicted. So again, with a healthy money mindset, want to have confidence, competence, and conviction. So question number 5, am I more focused on earning or managing? And there's a big difference between the two. Income alone does not create wealth. I'm living proof of it, and so are many of you. But management does. So high earners without discipline often live paycheck to paycheck. And I used an example in the previous podcast episode that a lot of doctors go bankrupt because they're still trying to pay those student loans, but they're trying to also live that lifestyle of that house in the gated community, a fancy car, and taking trips all over the planet. And those things, there's nothing wrong with it, but you need to have your money in place before all that happens. And so managing your money is really the key to it. And you don't want to find yourself in a paycheck to paycheck situation like many people in America do, because we're in a consumer economy. And that means everything is being marketed to you and I, and we have to have the discipline and the conviction not to allow ourselves to overspend. And as a result, we want to be a lender and not a debtor. And of course, disciplined managers, they build financial independence, and they do so by putting together a plan for success. Many successful people, Warren Buffett even, he had a jump start in life. His father gave him some money to invest, but he learned from it. He had the confidence to not only purchase stock, but actually purchase the company itself. And then he had the competence because he tried and fell, but he didn't give up. And then he knew that the long run would win the day for him. And then conviction, he's very convicted. Do you know that he has a senior citizen McDonald's card, and he cherishes that like someone would cherish a diamond ring? But it goes to show you that even though he has all of this money, billions of dollars, he still leads a very simple life. He still lives in the house he and his wife lived in when they got married, and he pretty much has the same car. And so if he can do it, so can we. And that's something that we want to definitely give consideration to. Now, question 5 is, am I more focused on earning or managing? Again, I'm going to hit this one up real quick with this last thing I want to say is disciplined managers build financial independence. What that tells us is that you're in control of your wealth. And at the end of your days, and you look back and say, well, I don't have enough money to live on. It was based on your decisions. And so you have to have different things in which to have. So question 6, how do I respond to financial setbacks? Well, just know this. A setback is a setup for a comeback. And what this means is that things that you want to happen at a certain time, maybe the timing isn't right. But if you don't give up, you're still going to come out ahead. So the question is, do you quit investing when markets dip? No. You hold the line. You stay the course. You keep going. And if you find yourself where you just can't hang in there, then you can always trade the stock, sell the stock. But if you have a pattern where you have an opportunity to grow your money, keep your money in the stock market. Now, do you overspend when stressed? In other words, Wow, life sure is just stressful. And a lot of times people blow off steam by going and buy things that they don't really want. They just buy it because they don't buy things because they want it, need it. They buy it because they want it. So you don't want to overspend in those situations. And your response to adversity really reveals your financial maturity. So we definitely want to stay in that space where we don't allow financial setbacks to really set us back a lot, where it's going to take twice as long to get back to where you were. But stay in the course, you're going to always stay ahead. So question number 7 is, do I have written financial intentions for this year, the year 2026? And one thing is for sure, intentions are very, very powerful. And instead of saying, I want to save more, say, I will invest 500 monthly into dividend producing assets. So you have some stock, and you can pay, of course, dividend stocks, they pay monthly. Some pay quarterly, and others pay biannually for the growth funds, like, say, a Walmart or Pfizer or a company like that, just as an example. And so you might invest in a REIT, and a REIT pays pretty well. That's real estate investment trust fund. And so you have to determine what works best for you. But you also want to look at insurance policy. Term policies are good, and it can really be a really benefit to your family in the case something happened to you or happened to them. But then a whole life policy is you build up some equity in there based on how much you put in. Let's say, for example, if you put in $10,000 a year, then you're going to be building up equity at least at a minimum 4%, if not greater. And if you'll find out that even banks and insurance companies have whole life insurance policies, and some of the people in the leadership roles take out an insurance policy rather than a salary because it's tax free. And so again, you're building wealth. And so if you have this financial intentions for this year, you may want to consider this. But intentions are powerful. So clarity, of course, drives that consistency. But you again, if you say I will invest 500 monthly into dividend producing assets, over time, you will exponentially increase that investment. And of course, stocks are going to take a loss here or there, depending on the economy, depending on inflation, and depending on national and international things that happen. But for the most part, having it in a brokerage account is going to do a lot more for you than putting it in a bank, because a bank is not going to earn you a lot of money from an interest standpoint. So it's something that you want to uh, give great consideration to. And question number 8 is, am I building wealth for lifestyle or legacy? Now, this is a big difference. Lifestyle wealth spends. Legacy wealth multiplies. So you have multiple streams of income. It could be a house that you've paid off. If you want to sell it, that's a stream of income. Or if you want to rent it, buy another house and rent it out, that's another form of income. Some real estate investing. Then you have the stock market. Then you may have your 401k plan. And so it really positions you for a legacy. And then healthy money mindset thinks beyond today. It thinks generationally. In other words, by having that insurance policy, and if you pass away, you could have a whole life policy and it will stay in effect even when you pass away. And you can pass it on to one of your children or one of your siblings, depending on what you decide to do. And so thinking generationally, my children did not struggle and when they came into young adulthood, of which they are now. Now, my son might tell you that he struggled, but he didn't. And he's not struggling today, and neither is my daughter. But what I'm saying is, they don't have the same financial history that I have coming up, where I didn't have any money whatsoever. And so my kids, they have all of that and a bag of chips, and a big bag at that. So from a generational standpoint, they are really doing great. So one of the things that I want to share again is um, when it comes to my wealth mindset foundation framework, the pillar number one is self-leadership, because when you're able to control your emotions, you control your decisions. And then pillar number two is financial literacy, understanding compounding interests and budgeting and investing and debt management. Again, I'm a financial manager, certified financial manager by experience and training. And so I work with people to coach them how to grow their money. And then the third pillar is long-term vision. Wealth is built in decades, not days. So if you take let's say my daughter is 22 now, she's building, she gets a job after college, which she gets out in May, then she can work for 20 years. And at that time, she'll be able to retire financially independent. Now, I retired at the age of 43 from the United States Air Force. And at that time, I did not have a family. So technically you could say that I was financially independent. Then after I started having a family, then all that college tuition started paying the price on my pension. But that's okay. It's for a worthy cause. But wealth is built in decades and not days. When these three pillars align, wealth becomes inevitable. So in closing, what I want to say is let me leave you with this truth. Your bank account is a reflection of your beliefs. So whatever decisions that you made when you earned some money and what you did with it after taxes and et cetera, then that's a reflection of what you believe. If you strengthen your beliefs, you strengthen your behavior. If you strengthen your behavior, you strengthen your outcomes. Money is not the goal. Freedom is the goal. Options are the goal. Legacy is definitely the goal. And all of it begins in your mind, with your mindset. You cannot build external wealth with internal chaos. You need to master your mind, clarify your intentions, and lay the foundation. Then let compound growth do what it has always done. It rewards discipline. Money wants us to give it a job, and it's up to us to do it. So, in closing, I want to give you a call to action. If this episode shifted your thinking, here's what I want you to do. Write down three financial intentions for the next 90 days. Let me repeat that. Write down three financial intentions for the next 90 days. It could be that I'm going to get me a whole life insurance policy. It could be that you want to get a brokerage account and start investing in stocks, learning how to invest in stocks. You could be looking at investing in some real estate, but there are many, many ways to do it. And then share this episode with someone who needs a mindset reset. And subscribe to the Wealth Academy podcast so you never miss these transformational conversations. And join my private Facebook group, Lead Yourself to Wealth. That community and to surround you with builders. And if you're serious about strengthening your financial foundation, go out and visit my website at www.paulvanspeaks.com and explore the Wealth Building Academy resources designed to help you lead yourself and your money with excellence. This is Paul Lawrence Vann, the Leadership Catalyst. And remember, wealth is not an accident, it is a decision, and that decision starts in your mind. So this is going to end episode 334. Go out there on Apple Podcasts and listen to it and all the great things that I shared today about mindset and its particular foundational role when it comes to wealth building. My time is up and I thank you for yours. And go out there to Apple Podcasts and provide us with a 5-star review and rate and review us. And we thank you for it. My time is up and I thank you for yours, and have a wonderful day. And I'll see you on the next episode. Again, the name is Paul Lawrence Vann. Have a great day.